Hello there, it's me, your cousin Ross. If you remember, we met that one time at the county fair, you met my mom, whatever. We are here today to review the past 10 years of my life and how it relates to my journey in fitness. And if you paid attention to the intro of the video, you might ask, whoa, the first time you touched a dumbbell at 14, you saw the future of your life for the next 10 years? Yes, I did. Kind of similar to Aaron Yeager when he touched Historia's hand.
Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Drink. La 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 la.
He saw the good he was going to do for the world, essentially. I'm not going to spoil that for you guys. We're going to talk about the gains, the losses, the pounds, lost and gained, and we're going to have a whole world of fun while doing it. So stay tuned. So my fitness journey begins in May of 2014. Miley Cyrus had just started going off the deep end. Vine was a thing.
LeBron James.
It was like TikTok. You only had 7 seconds to get your point across. And I had my first access to a weight room. This weight room had anything I could want. It had squat racks, deadlift bars, rubber weights for doing power cleans. But as we can see here, all I really cared about at this time was getting the arms right. So we see we've got some delt development starting to come in, as well as some bicep and tricep. And that's all I trained. I was benching probably 3 times a week, maxing every time. That's how I thought you got stronger. And doing a lot of overhead tricep extensions and curls, because curls are for the girls. Yeah. Sitting about 165 pounds at this time, and starting to trim down, starting to lose the baby fat. But nevertheless, this is how my journey started. So between 2015 and 2016, I had really started to learn more about how to exercise more efficiently. I learned about the importance of sets, reps. I'm using a trap bar to pull, I think, 500 pounds. I got the 4 plates and a little bit on the side. I'm about 16 years old here, maybe early 17. And we see we've got really good form. Delts are starting to come in quite well. Triceps, biceps are still good. I didn't abandon the, SpongeBob arm training routine, obviously. But I'm getting smarter. I'm benching maybe 225 at this point. I'm sitting about 175, and I'm starting to kind of grow into my strength a little bit. This brings us to October and November of 2016. I'm getting pretty strong for my body weight. I'm sitting about 185 pounds. Bench was about 295, squat 380, deadlift 500 on the trap bar. I experienced my first hiccup in my fitness journey. Both of my hip flexors were experiencing severe tightness. I couldn't run, I couldn't sprint, I couldn't do my conditioning like I used to. I was going to physical therapy, foam rolling, and nothing ultimately fixed it. With my diet remaining the way it was, of pizza, Doritos, whatever my parents had, I started to pack on a little bit of weight here in the midsection. Shoulders are looking good, chest is good, arms are all right. Face and belly getting a little puffier than I would have liked. Some of the self-consciousness started to set in. I wasn't happy with how I felt. I wasn't happy with how I looked. It's all part of the process. So now we're at December of 2016. It's a couple months after the end of my senior season of football. My cousin convinces me to come and try out Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with him. I go into it not really knowing what it is, what it's about. But from what I understand, it's great exercise and it's pretty good fun. About a few weeks into my training, and already I'm starting to slim down. I'm sitting maybe about 175 pounds, so I've probably lost about 10 pounds from the end of my football season to training in jiu-jitsu. Arms are looking good. Chest is still strong. Biceps and triceps are good. But here we see something a little different. The forearms are looking really good. If any of you have practiced jiu-jitsu before, you know your technique's not that good. You tend to overcompensate with the grabbing and holding, and that's a lot of what jiu-jitsu is. I'm still doing some lifting, not much, but mostly doing my sprints, my distance running, and training jiu-jitsu a couple times a week. So I'm up in the cardio, going down on the weights a little bit, but I'm still doing enough to maintain. And I'm starting to lose some weight, and I'm actually getting very confident in myself. A lot of that self-consciousness that I experienced the first half of my senior year started to go away because I was pretty decent at jiu-jitsu. It made sense to me. Football never really made sense to me. I couldn't really figure it out. Wasn't good at it. But jiu-jitsu gave me something that I could really apply myself to, and it really gave me a good sense of purpose and confidence. I can't say enough about jiu-jitsu. I highly recommend it to anybody. It really set my life on a different trajectory as far as how I felt about myself. And I would just highly recommend anybody looking for your local jiu-jitsu gym and just giving it a shot. You'll get in better shape. You will feel better about yourself. And you will learn some very valuable skills as well as make some really good friends. So this now brings us to the summer of 2017. I'm still training jiu-jitsu, I'm still doing cardio, and I'm starting to incorporate body weight movements and lifting. So I've got a lot of training methods going on here. So as we can see here, I've really slimmed down in the midsection. The abs are looking as good as they ever have at that time. Chest getting some pretty good cuts, a lot of lower pec development. Biceps are looking great, tris are looking good. No fat on the arms, forearms are getting up there, face is losing the weight. Got me doing a little bit of running. I was doing my distance running for conditioning purposes. I was trying to get in the military at the time. 3 times a week, I'm trying to do my 1.5 mile run as quickly as I can. So you can see here, things are looking, not a lot of jiggle going on here, not a lot of jiggling going on. That's good. Delts, capped, chest looking good. Upper chest could use a little bit more work. But all in all, feeling good, looking good. And here's a nice back lat shot right about here. Lats aren't anything crazy, but I've just lost a lot of fat at this time. So back is looking great just from doing pull-ups. Good cuts, no fat on the arms, delts looking good. This was by far, at that time, the best I looked and the best I felt by doing a combination of doing jiu-jitsu once or twice a week, getting my runs in a couple times a week, and just doing push-ups and pull-ups, really and truly. I still had my curls in. You got to get the curls in, but other than that, really starting to kind of right the ship. This brings us to the winter of 2018. It's January and February. I had just moved to South Florida, living on my own apartment, having to learn how to cook. So it's a lot of chicken, it's a lot of steak, it's a lot of rice. That paid dividends in the gains department, as we can see here. At this time, I'm not training jiu-jitsu. The cardio is a lot less conditioning, it's less sprints, less running, less long distance. It's more just walking on the treadmill, some steady state stuff. And a lot of lifting. My goal at this point is to get as strong as I could. So every day I'm spending about 2 hours in the gym. Had nothing really better to do before work. And I still had a pretty active job. I was a mechanic, so I was up on my feet most of the day, getting my steps in. But as you can see, delts are looking round. A lot of cuts in the shoulder area. Triceps looking good. Veins in the biceps, chest looking really full. It's probably the best at this time my chest has looked, or probably has ever looked at this time, because I was just doing a lot of bench press. I was about 190 pounds at this time, benching 335. Deadlift was 415 on straight bar. and I could do 275 for sets of 10 on squats. So this was pound per pound, probably the strongest I'd been at this time, and definitely the most cut that I had been at that body weight. Abs are still looking solid, not a lot of fat anywhere. For doing the powerlifting, combined with some steady state cardio, I was keeping the fat down and I was feeling good. I was feeling very good at this point. It's April 2019, CrossFit. And I know what you're going to think. You're going to think of, oh, the people doing the funny pull-ups and breaking their backs, doing 500 deadlifts in a workout and stuff like that. And guys all huddled up, like, screaming at each other. And that does happen. But it's a lot of fun. I had fun, at least. And if you're a former athlete and you really haven't been able to find anything to kind of match the competitive nature of whatever your sport might have been, try giving CrossFit a shot. I promise. You're going to start bonding with these people. You're going to have little competitions between each other. And you're going to make some really, really good friends. I had a really good community where I was at. And I got in really good shape. As you can see here, I trimmed down probably 10 pounds from early January to late April, early May. So here I'm about 162 pounds. I hadn't weighed this much since I was a sophomore in high school. And all these workouts having your heart rate in a pretty high range, up in a fat burning range, you can lose a lot of fat. I lost some muscle as well. I wasn't doing my benching anymore. Wasn't going super crazy on like leg extension. It was just doing the CrossFit. It was a lot of pull-ups, a lot of body weight. I was throwing in some supplemental stuff just by going pretty light on the weights and the workouts and focusing more on speed. I trimmed down really well. And as you can see here, arms look good, not any fat. Chest is shrunk down a bit. It's not poking anymore. When you're not doing a whole lot of heavy bench, your chest might not be poking. And I felt really good. I kind of had the Batman Christian Bale type thing going on. Where are they? And I will highly recommend that to anybody. This is what the back looked like from doing CrossFit. This is just pull-ups. Upper back, mid back, a lot of cuts down in the lower. Scapula looks good. Lats aren't, great when you're doing these kind of pull-ups, It just looked good, felt healthy. So I highly recommend just trying CrossFit out. It may not be your thing, but maybe if you want to jumpstart some fat loss, just give it a shot. So now we're at the tail end of 2019, getting into early 2020. I was sitting about 162 pounds. I was on my feet at work all day. Definitely not tracking calories, getting protein in, anything like that. So I was just getting a bit skinnier than I cared to be. Really started going slower on the workouts. I was going a little heavier on the weights when I could, when it was safe, and I was supplementing some extra powerlifting. So I was maybe doing my CrossFit 3 days a week, and then the rest of the time, I was getting back to my bench press, a bit of a hybrid approach to my training, and it paid off very well. This is probably the favorite of my physique, in my opinion, because the abs look good, chest is starting to poke again, shoulders look good, have some cuts in the shoulders, triceps, biceps look good, vascular, some striations up in the forearms, traps looking all right, and I felt good. So it's essentially been a year between these two photos. On the left was kind of the tail end of 2018, and then over here is about the end of 2019. So after about a year of doing CrossFit and kind of adding in some hybrid lifting and whatnot, you can tell I've lost a lot of fat, and I've maintained keeping it off. And I was kind of eating whatever I wanted, nothing crazy. But when I did start supplementing some more powerlifting, I got some of my size back, and I could still run really well. I got back to doing my 1.5 mile run in sub 10 minutes. I hadn't done that in a long time. Strong. I could hit 275 for 6 reps on bench. I'd never done that before. I could still do 20 dead hang pull-ups, and I could actually front squat 285 pounds for 1. Body weight at the time, I was probably about 185 again. So all in all, pound per pound, that was probably the best shape I think I've been in, was combining some of the WODs of CrossFit, going a little slower with the powerlifting. Now, that's not to say that would work for anybody else necessarily, but that's just kind of how it felt for me. I had a really skinny, lean base to build off of, weighing 160 pounds. Got my muscle memory back, and I started getting my muscle back that I had before. And getting that few months of that combination was great. Felt good, looked good, was really happy with it. Farmer's 10 does not come with the CrossFit. You have to kind of pay for that separately. So this now brings us to October of 2020. The gyms in Florida have been open for a few months. I had been back at the CrossFit, doing what I could, but it just wasn't the same. I was actually set to move back to Tennessee in a couple of weeks. The next big hurdle in my fitness journey befell me.
I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What, a vertebrae or what portion?
Spinal.
Okay, I really didn't break my back, but I hurt it. I had my wife, who was my girlfriend with me at the time, demonstrating proper deadlift form and hurt myself. I hurt my back.
My back! Oh, my back!
I was pulling 315. I think it was my 4th rep of a set of 5, and I felt something pull, dropped it, and I started panicking. And she had to help me to the car. It was really, really scary, considering I was supposed to leave in a couple weeks. I couldn't go to the doctor. I couldn't afford to go to the emergency room, get a surgery, and just have my stay in Florida extended indefinitely. I really couldn't do it. Over a couple weeks, it went back to normal, but ultimately that was kind of the end for CrossFit for me for a while. I just couldn't get in there and be deadlifting and doing all the power cleans and all that. I just kind of took that as a sign to transition to something else. I had to focus on moving back home. So that's what I did. So now we're at November 2020. I've since moved back to Tennessee. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, moved in with me. Life was completely different. I couldn't just go to the gym for 2 hours a day because I was a college student. It was a lot more of a sedentary lifestyle, just getting a lot softer. As you can see, I was still training weights, arms and chest still look solid. I was doing bench, but just really starting to fill out the shirt in the middle region, unfortunately. Just due to the lifestyle change, not really training with a purpose anymore. I was still kind of piddling around with some weightlifting and stuff, doing bench and all that. None of it really did anything. Like, I was just burnt out. It wasn't the same for me anymore. It was becoming more and more of a hassle and a chore than something enjoyable. It really took the back seat a lot when it came to the other parts of life. So now we're towards the end of 2022. Been about 2 years since I moved from Florida, and I've adapted to this new lifestyle. I wasn't really taking my training seriously, stuff like going to failure, training with a purpose, having goals. Definitely not calorie tracking. None of that happened. Or maybe I'd train bench, maybe I'd get a little bit strong on some squats or something. But ultimately, the lifestyle had caught up to me. Very soft around the middle. The love handles are love handling. Chest soft, mind soft.
Soft and squishy, soft and squishy.
Arms and everything still have some decent build to them. If I would have known and cared enough, probably could have done a pretty nice cut. That just wasn't who I was at that time. I'm still suffering from some burnout. It got bad. Belly, face really puffy. Oh man, this is my favorite one of all. This is the one that I look at whenever, I need a little pick-me-up. Look at that.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it!
I look like those little guys off of Men in Black.
So, you guys seen?
But like, if one of them ate all the other ones, shows that I was still clinging to the idea that I could not take dieting seriously or just not care about it. And I wasn't willing to put in the work that could have kept me from getting to that point. at that time. I was just sitting all day, watching TikToks all day, easy dopamine, video games. It was definitely a very low point for me, and there's not a whole lot more to say about it. So at the beginning of last year, January 2023, I had a swell of motivation again. I was tired of looking the way I did, feeling the way I did. So I got back into trying powerlifting, and I wanted to get back to what I was good at and what made me happy. So I started progressively overloading on bench again, training more seriously, putting more effort into what I did, and I was starting to rekindle some of that passion. And for a couple months, it was going well. Squatting again, getting stronger on squats, deadlifts, starting to lose a little bit of fat, still wasn't tracking calories, still wasn't getting my protein in. But the mind was there, and the body was catching up slowly. See here, I was starting to do the lifting again, still getting some of that SpongeBob action back. The chest is filling in, upper body's filling in, delts, triceps, biceps, arms, everything's looking good. There's still a little bit of puffiness in the middle. After 2 years of accruing that, I just wasn't doing what was necessary to really take that off at that point. But stuff was starting to get better, and I started to get strong again until...
Ooh!
Okay, I really didn't tear my shoulder. Definitely strained it very badly. I was doing a heavy set of 3. It wasn't on the menu to do that day, but I ran into one of my old buddies from school, and he was benching. I wanted to work in with him a little bit. He was a little stronger than I had business competing with. Instead of doing 300 for like a set of 1 or 2 that I usually did, I was gonna go for 3. The first 2 were all right. But sure enough, in the hole is like kind of this from the chest up about 6 inches, that first little push point. Felt the pull in my shoulder right here connecting to the front delt of the chest. Dropped the weight on my chest. He helped me up, and we both just kind of looked at each other. We were terrified. Everybody's seen the video, the guy tearing his pec. Yeah, we just waited, and I looked, I was checking, and nothing got purple, nothing got bad, but I couldn't raise my arm very well. I couldn't push up on things. It was bad, and that was the next domino. That was the next hurdle. There's always something. I started making progress, feeling good, getting the motivation back, and we have another setback. Obviously, just like the back problem, it was my fault. I was being irresponsible, trying to be a meathead, and I had to pay for it. So I had a good 3 months of motivation, doing well, and that's all it took for me at that time to really just give it up again. I was tweaking my shoulder. I couldn't do pull-ups, I couldn't do pull-downs, really anything that activated this part right here, man, it just killed me. And that's really all it took for me to kind of concede at that time, unfortunately. So it's about spring of last year. I'm deciding that I'm going to turn a new leaf. I'm going to fully commit to having a good caloric deficit consistently, train consistently, and do whatever I need to do to have a successful cut. I was going to make it last for about 3 months or so, trim down, and get back to a place where I felt pretty comfortable. Deficit was not as aggressive as it had been before. I was still hoping that I could kind of work it out and have some leeway, mostly by overcompensating by going back to CrossFit. I spent about 2.5 months trying to do the CrossFit, and it just wasn't the same. I still just couldn't get the intensity that I needed out of just being there by myself. It was difficult, but ultimately I wasn't getting any stronger, and I really wasn't losing weight for the amount of effort that I was putting in. I expected to lose 20 pounds by doing, 20, 30-minute active CrossFit exercise 5 days a week, and then still kind of track what I'm doing, but not fully. And I just wasted all that time, essentially. But towards the end, I decided, okay, I'm going to put the CrossFit on the back burner. Rather than doing CrossFit, I'm going to do my lifting. I'm going to do what I'm good at. I'm going to be a little more serious about it. And I'm going to start walking. Stepping. 10,000 steps a day. You may think like, oh, it's walking. What's it going to do? You will start losing weight if you adjust your calories a little bit, but even if you only just walked, got below 200 pounds, I was 196 pounds at my lowest, and that was over the course of like a month. Maybe losing a little bit of muscle there, sure, but I finally had some positive signs of something working. For the past couple of years, nothing worked. I couldn't figure it out. I was doing what worked for 19-year-old me, and it wasn't working now. It didn't make any sense. Found out, hey, I can adapt. I can adapt my training methods for what stage of life I'm in, and I started figuring that out, but unfortunately, it was just too late. It was the tail end of like a 3-month cut. I had lost maybe 10 pounds, but I did find what I could do that worked for me. Incorporating things like steps in, being a little more lenient with my calories, but not too much. Just enough to where I could keep my morale up. I could eat dinner with my wife. I could go out with my friends every now and again. And I had the motivation back. So for that period of time, I hung it up for the holidays. But I fully intended on coming back. It's February 4th, 2024. I'm now 25 years old, and I've spent the last decade of my life working out. It's taken many different shapes and forms, throwing barbells around, doing bodyweight squats, or running or swimming. But the most valuable lesson that I've learned, you have to be willing to adapt to where you're at in your life if you want to hit your goals. Don't get mad that what worked for you as a 20-year-old is not going to work now. It's just part of the process. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet, but that's okay, because I'm taking things more seriously, and I'm starting to have fun with it again. Maybe one or two of you will tag along with me and see if I can do it. Hold me accountable, and maybe it'll help you hold yourself accountable. I hope that you may stick with me over the next few months and see where I can go next. Thank you for spending some time with your cousin Ross. We'll see you next time.